An extension of ratios is unit rates or unit rates. Unit rates are really just special ratios, and if you understand ratios, this is really just one step beyond a ratio. And a unit rate is something we deal with all the time in our lives, okay? So when you talk about your car, it's so many miles per gallon. If you talk about where you work and how much you make, you say, I make so many dollars per hour. If you go to the grocery store, you say, I bought this. Let's say we're talking about ground beef. I bought this for so much money per pound. Remember, pound is LB, pound. So these are things that you actually talk about a lot in your daily life, whether you recognize it or not. But sometimes it's challenging to recognize it in a word problem and remember how to set it up and work it. So go ahead and get out a note card and let's write some notes on unit rates. I think it's really important to have your note cards, kind of build yourself a study tool of all your different concepts that we're going to talk about. And then you can, because some of this stuff is really memorization and study time, just like you studied for other subjects when you went to school. And when you learn something over a long period of time, you need some refresher. So having note cards is a very nice study tool for you as you kind of build your math skills. Okay, so title your note card unit rates at the top. And let's just write some things about what unit rates are. So, just a little bullet here. They are special types of ratios. So I'm just going to say special ratios. And they compare. You can just pause the video and write your stuff down. And I know you're thinking you will just watch and not write anything down. But remember that it's proven that when you write things down, you remember it better. So pause, write, take your notes, and then we'll practice some. So unit rates compare a value to a single unit, okay? So let me just give you an example of how we don't talk. Let's talk about my car, okay? If I'm talking about the gas mileage of my car, I don't talk to you and say, okay, my car gets 480 miles for every 17.6 gallons I put in it. Do I say that? Do you say that? No, we don't say that. But what we do say is, I'll just work it out real quick. We do say, when I work this out as a division problem, my car gets 27 miles per gallon. Wow, that's pretty good, right? So this makes sense to all of us a lot more than this. Like who could follow that kind of math? Nobody, all right? So that's why unit rate is easy to talk about and easy to compare one value to another. All right, so unit rates also often use the word per, P-E-R. And it looks like this, miles. And this time we're going to do that slash kind of slanted. Whereas in fractions, I tell you not to do a slanted because it can get mistaken for a number one. But in this case, you've seen this in the grocery store and other places on the gas station signs and stuff like that. That reads miles per gallon. Okay? And remember, math is just kind of like a code. So you got to be able to read that code. So when I write that down, you need to be able to read to yourself miles per gallon. That's how you interpret it, even when you're reading it silently. Now, to work these, we want to set them up like a ratio. And that means this case, I'm going to say draw your fraction line. Now go back and watch my ratio video. I'll talk about that. So we're going to draw a fraction line. And then we also want to label it so that you can get your right units. So if I want miles and then I want gallons, I got to make sure I put that on my line so I'll know that that number's got to go with miles. Okay? So we want to set up like a ratio. But then we want to, here's the key. We don't want to just reduce. Instead of reducing, remember in ratios, we just set it up and reduced it, we were done. So instead of reducing, you divide. Now I need to remind you that this fraction line means division. In math, there's 3 ways to write division, and this is one of them. So you will divide the top number, well, let's just say it like this. Top number divided by bottom number. Okay? So that's what you're going to actually put it in the calculator. So for my example that I just worked with my car, okay? So I said my car, I could drive my car 480 miles for 17.6 gallons of gas. All right? But I want to know how many miles per gallon does it get? Okay, so now you set this up like a ratio, miles, gallon, because I asked you how many miles per gallon does it get right here. So miles had to go on the top. I'll put my numbers in. So I have 480, and then I have 17.6 gallons, but I'm going to work it like a division problem. So I'm going to write it out for you on this board. You write it on your note card so you'll recognize what you're doing. Top number first, then the division sign, then the bottom number, and then you hit the equal sign. So you put it in your calculator. You can see I've done it there. And then you get your answer and you can round it off, okay? All right, so my answer was 27.2, so I'm just going to call it 27 miles slash gallon, and that reads 27 miles per gallon. Notice, whoops, hopefully you could follow that. Notice that you don't say miles per 1 gallon. When I say miles per gallon, it's understood to be 1 gallon. And that's always a little confusing because that number 1 is not there, but the word is still represented as if it were there. Okay, so that's what a unit rate is. So get your notes written, and then we're going to talk about comparing price with unit rates on the next video.